There's two things I really want to talk about today with the Mishkan, with the tabernacle. They're both going to tie in together. So we're going to put two words into our vocabulary pertaining to the tabernacle. The first one is the most important. The tabernacle, the Mishkan, is a house of prayer. First and foremost, this is a center for worship and for prayer. The altar, the sacrifices, everything is important, but it is all, at the end of the day, supposed to be a center for the people to come and meet with the Lord. It is a place for meeting with Him, which is exactly what prayer is. Later on, the psalmist says, it's Isaiah, who says, "My house is to be called a house of prayer for all nations." Yeshua later quotes this passage and says, My Father's house is to be a house of prayer for all nations. And so first and foremost, this is a place for prayer. The second word I want to put into our vocabulary here is that the tabernacle is meant to be mobile. Now, this is a theme of Scripture. When God first called Avram, He called him out of the city and into a tent. He wanted him to stay mobile. He was a nomad, as was Yitzchak and Yaakov. When God called the children of Israel, He called them out of permanent settlements and into the wilderness to receive His messages. God doesn't want us just to have this house of prayer mentality in one place. Here's my spiritual life, and then here's my everyday normal life, and let's call it what it is, my real life. When we have that mentality, it's easy to come to the sanctuary and play make-believe and pretend to be a believer. And then we can go back into the world and be a son of hell. But what we're supposed to do is take what we receive here in kind of like our metaphoric Mount Sinai and take it with us into the world. What we're supposed to be doing is meeting with God and taking that relationship with us into our everyday life. The word is supposed to be mobile. Let me tell you about the shocking part. I mentioned there would be a shocking part of this message, and I'm going to say something very countercultural, and maybe a little bit even hypocritical at points. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I don't understand how we as a people do not build our daily lives around prayer. We almost treat our devotional like there's something that we attach onto our day-to-day life, instead of building our day-to-day life around our devotional. I like a woman named Edith Stein. I talk about her quite a bit. Grew up in an Orthodox Jewish home, and she later became a nun. Edith Stein wrote about her grandfather, and she said that he built a whole room onto his house for daily prayer. And that he brought his grandkids into the house and taught them very strictly how to pray every single day. Why is it that in popular culture, the faithful, the believers, we join with culture and have a whole room in our house dedicated to television, but not prayer? We have all the chairs built around our Aron Kodesh here because we're trying to show the importance of scripture reading and prayer and the Word of God. And yet we have a room in our house where every chair and couch is built around a central altar to whatever entertains us. Those of you who've been to my house know that I have a TV room. And yet, I'll be honest with you, there's times I wonder if that shouldn't bother me. I have an acquaintance who went to another country, and he saw all the chairs around the house were built to the household god, or they were built around the household god. What is our household god? Why don't we have rooms that we dedicate to prayer? Why don't we have rooms that we dedicate to worship? Why don't we build our houses with little sanctuaries in them? I'm not saying we need a tourist rule, but why don't we have a minyan room in our own homes? I'm amazed at how quickly we've abandoned the concept of we wake up and we go to the prayer house. In the Jewish tradition, we always pray at least 3 times a day. And I know that in Israel, it's not uncommon to have a meeting place at any given workplace where they can pray their afternoon prayers. And maybe their morning prayers, depending what time the place opens. How quickly has our American Western culture lost track of just the day-to-day routine of prayer? And the word routine can be dangerous. It's not a rut. It's not just a tradition you just do because you do it. But it's that we build our lives around the presence of God. We build our sanctuary around the Scripture. But in a spiritual sense, our lives are built around His presence and constantly being in conversation with Him. Paul says to pray constantly. David said he praised the Lord 7 times a day. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening. The priests in the temple officiated a morning prayer and an afternoon prayer with the sacrifices every single day, in addition to new moon prayers and all sorts of other prayers that were offered throughout the course of a day, not to mention holidays. And Shabbats actually had an extra sacrifice and prayer meeting. Why is it that when I go to the Church of God on Memorial, I can see about 50 people there for the worship service, maybe 100, somewhere there, but I see about 5 or 6 people for prayer? And Pastor, if you're listening to this, I'm not insulting your church, but I'm giving an example. Why is it that we, as a Western culture, do not value prayer the way we should? Why have we not built our homes and our lives around prayer? Why is this not mobile? I have much more to say about this, but I will give you my imaginary situation right now. Imagine if every neighborhood had the designated house of prayer. My neighborhood has a pool house. We have townhouses. I don't live in a gated community, but townhouses, and we have a pool house. A house and a pool. What if it was known that every Wednesday, every Thursday, who knows what day, or maybe every morning it was open and people could just kind of sit there and pray together for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes. Who knows how long? I'm being silly with my times here. Or what if it was just known that at my house, if you want to come by at 8:30, I'm here to pray with you. I don't do that. Or what if, this Thursday we meet at my house, and the next Thursday we meet at the person on the other side of the neighborhood, we meet at their house. And we kept this thing mobile. And just within the neighborhood, we were very invested into the believers in our neighborhood, and we took our walking with them very seriously. You might be thinking to yourself, this is strange. Why am I listening to this guy on the internet? And yet I'm telling you, this is just a little fantasy of mine. It seems very detached from real life. Or does it? Where did I get this idea? Well, okay, number one, Puritans and living in Israel. And like a lot of ideas, I've looked at the past, and I look at the present, I look at our cultures, and I see this. I got this from my father-in-law, who lived in the USSR. And they had to keep their churches mobile. We meet at this house this Sunday, we meet at this house the next Sunday. We can't meet in more than one place at one time. And if the church gets so big, we have to split. And it has to look like just a gathering of friends. Why? Going to church is a good way to get yourself killed or to disappear. Pavel, my father-in-law, likes to point at me, and he points at me and he'll say, "Oh yes, there will be people like you. Young, excited, energetic. The Lord's anointed them, they teach, and then they disappear. And we don't see them again. But that's okay, because the Lord would rise up a replacement just like you, and he would teach until he disappeared too." I'm not being dark. I'm not being overly pessimistic. I'm not trying to be a prepper. But I'm trying to speak in terms of reality. That day may come. Any people who say that they are immune to persecution are naive. Germany was the best place for a Jew to live until it wasn't. England was the best place to be a Jew until it wasn't. It's the history of Judaism. We lived here, we thrived, we loved it, and then they started killing us. That's kind of what happened in Egypt. Multiplied too much, so Pharaoh enslaved them. It's also the history of Christianity. Spread so far, Either it joins with a culture and becomes kind of watered down, or it becomes persecuted. Sometimes both. And then it's very important that the message of God remains mobile. Right now we have the great opportunity, almost I dare call it a leisure, an honor, a privilege to be able to meet together in a public space for prayer and worship and hearing the message and hearing the word. If that day ever doesn't become available, guess what? It's time to go mobile. But even if that doesn't happen, and for some reason we're the exception to history, what's so wrong with my imagination? That we have the prayer house on Saturday that we meet at, but Monday through Sunday or every other day of the week, we gather over here at my house for morning prayers. Or we meet on this street corner for afternoon prayers. We dedicate our lives to prayer. I wake the kids up an hour early, say, hey, it's time to go downstairs, And we go into our little sanctuary in our home, and we just start our day off by talking to our Father who loves us. Is that really so hard to imagine? I don't think so. And I want you to think about it too.